I climbed up all the internal stairs of the Dom Tower more than 30 years ago. I am struggling to remember the details. I was visiting and staying with a pen pal, a contact I had picked up at the Australian Post Pavilion during the 1988 World Expo in Brisbane. It was pretty cool exchanging letters with somebody on the other side of the world. Little did they know that I would actually follow through with the words in my letters and show up on their doorstep a few years later. At the time, it was great to be shown around by a local. St. Martin's Church and Bell Tower was definitely one of the places we visited. I distinctly remember the medieval-looking canals and buildings. I struggle to remember how we got there or what we ate. I do remember all the steps to the top of the bell tower but not being able to see much because of low-level cloud fog or mist. And on this trip, we did not have enough time to get to the top, though I was very tempted. We did go inside the main church, something I didn't do last time. I did not know this place was built on an old Roman site, but it makes a lot of sense being repurposed over the years. It was also interesting to know that the church was originally joined to the bell tower but collapsed during a big storm and was never rebuilt. I would believe it too, mainly because the Netherlands is so flat and the wind might really build up speed. We had a first-hand experience of it when our plane came into land. We had almost touched down when the plane wobbled, side to side, then powered up and went around again. Luckily, we landed safely on the second attempt.
Leiden was a nice little base for a couple of days on our short trip to the Netherlands. We had timed it so we could be there on their Whit Monday public holiday long weekend. Leiden got our attention because their local parkrun was having their once-a-year extra event, and it was both easily accessed from town center and an Amsterdam Schiphol airport. Kagerzoom Parkrun was an easy 2 kilometers walk from our Leiden city accommodation. Lots of other parkrun tourists had the same idea. After parkrun, a shower and some breakfast, we had the whole afternoon to check out the rest of town. There was plenty to see, and the weather was nice. It was the birthplace of Rembrandt, one of the old city gates. There was an impressive Gothic church, De Burgt, the oldest fortification in the Netherlands. There were lots of walkways, canals and shops to explore, even a market which had a lot of textiles and fabric. It was pretty busy being a public holiday. I was just glad we did not have to walk around in wooden clogs. I did not quite understand this old doorway named after the patron saint of brewers, but lots of people seemed to be taking photos of it. I think it was like a poorhouse founded in 1487. It is times like these I should have forked out for a local guide. There is nothing better when you stick your head out the hotel door and see a group of other runners in their parkrun shirts heading in our planned direction. It is confirmation that we are in the right place at the right time. We always like to build in a bit of a time buffer in case we miss a bus or go the wrong way. The parkrun directional information is usually pretty good on the websites, and we haven't really stuffed up yet. It took a fair bit of planning and travel to squash 5 new parkruns locations into a 3-week trip. It was about 2.5 kilometers from the center of Leiden to Kagerzoom Parkrun. Probably the perfect warm-up and cool-down after a hard run. It was about half an hour outside Amsterdam, which we were unable to visit on this trip due to a train strike, but that did open up a chance to catch a bus to The Hague for a day. I'm not sure what Kagerzoom means, but there was a fair bit of nature and a golf club close by. Event number 201 on their Whit Monday public holiday, an iconic Dutch course. It's flat and complete with its own windmill. It was my 500th event. It took a long time to get to 500, about 12 years, because COVID shut things down for a while. Next goal is 1,000. I really like checking out a bit of local history, especially when I have no idea about an area. I saw the castle on the Google Maps and some of the town guides. I thought it would be easy to see on the skyline, but this fort wasn't that big. Luckily, we sort of just stumbled our way in the general direction until we found the main gate. I was excited there was no charge to get in. This interesting structure was not as big or grand as I was expecting. No big tower or fancy hall, but just a circular structure built on a man-made hill. I suppose the Netherlands is so flat they had to build it up instead of just constructing it up on some natural mountain or hill. Liddenkastel is one of the oldest surviving in the Netherlands. I believe it was an important defensive building, helping the town hold out against overwhelming odds at one stage, but soon became military. Insignificant. A few modern handrails and stairs gave us good access to the walls, and it looked like a youth musical group was setting up for a bit of a concert. They say there was some sort of tower where the trees now are. There were some good views of the surrounding town from the top of the walls. Well was probably an important part of holding out for so long in a siege. I can just imagine somebody trying to stay warm all night while on some sort of watch duty. Interesting to see the different bricks used in different renovations. Asterisk. The Dutch have a great train system except when it's on strike. We were hoping for a day trip into Amsterdam, but arrived at the Leiden train station to find notices on all the ticket machines saying nothing was running and the platforms completely empty. We would have gone into Amsterdam the day before if we had known, but we had not seen any news or information. It must have been the only time we never checked out the tourist information center as soon as we had checked into our accommodation. It was possible to Mikado Amsterdam by bus, but it turned a half-hour trip into 2.5 hours on 2 buses and a tram. The Hague sounded like a better option, with one much shorter direct bus. It was raining when we arrived at the home of the Dutch Parliament, the King's Office, and the International Courts, but it was still good to have a look around somewhere new.
It was so good to have trains back running again after a day of strike action by the Dutch rail workers. Just like back home, I totally understand the need to fight for fair pay and working conditions, but it would be nice if everybody could work out the issues a bit faster with less inconvenience for everyone all round. This little trip was back in mid-June this year, 2025. I had been to Utrecht 30-odd years ago when I was a young backpacker. I was interested to see if I could remember more than the big old church in the middle of town. I was staying with a pen pal way back then, in a nearby town, and they showed me around. This was sort of a similar trip. We were on our way to visit one of Caroline's friends, and we had a couple of hours to spare. Utrecht was on the way and looked like the perfect stop for a coffee. We only really had time for a snack and a short walk around the middle of town. The tourist information center was great. I even learnt in Roman times there was a fortress here. The fortress was named Trajectum because of its location at the Rhine River. Trajectum was translated to the Dutch Trecht. The U comes from the Old Dutch word Ut, which means downriver. Utrecht can be roughly translated to the fortress down the river. That was one more thing than I learnt last time I was here.